Imagine a creature so small that you could easily miss it. Yet every year, it affects the lives of hundreds of millions of people around the world. It is not born in a dark forest. It does not begin its life in the sky. Instead, its incredible journey begins in something as ordinary as a tiny drop of water. A puddle, a forgotten container, or a rain-filled leaf. Or a quiet pool hidden beneath the shade of the forest. Here, beneath the surface, an invisible world is already moving. Welcome to the hidden life cycle of the mosquito. A story of transformation, survival, blood, and one of the most extraordinary reproductive strategies in the natural world.
This is Bioverse, where life comes alive.
Before a mosquito ever takes flight, before it searches for a blood meal, there is a mother mosquito searching for something very specific: water. But not just any water. A female mosquito needs a suitable place to lay her eggs.
Depending on the species, that place might be a small pond, a marsh, a tree hole,
A puddle, or even a tiny container holding only a few drops of rainwater.
To us, these places may seem insignificant. To a mosquito, they are nurseries.
A female mosquito can detect moisture and suitable breeding environments through a combination of sensory cues. She searches carefully because the survival of her future offspring depends on one decision: where to lay her eggs. Finally, she finds the perfect location. The surface of the water is calm. The temperature is suitable, and the environment is protected. Her journey has reached its first great milestone.
The beginning of a new generation.
At the water's edge, the female mosquito begins to lay her eggs. Depending on the species, she may place them individually or arrange them together in a floating cluster. Each egg is incredibly small, almost invisible to the human eye. Yet inside each one, a new life is developing, a tiny mosquito embryo. Protected by the egg's outer shell, it begins a race against time. The environment must remain suitable. The water cannot disappear too quickly.
The temperature must remain within a survivable range. And the developing embryo must be ready.
Because soon, the first transformation will begin. The egg cracks open, and something completely different emerges. A tiny aquatic larva. The mosquito has entered its second stage of life. The mosquito larva enters a world completely different from the one its adult form will eventually inhabit. It lives in water, it swims, it feeds, and it grows.
To the naked eye, it may look almost like a tiny moving thread.
But under the microscope, its body reveals an astonishing level of complexity. The larva moves through the water using rapid, rhythmic movements. It frequently rises toward the surface because, unlike fish, the mosquito larva must breathe atmospheric air. A specialized structure allows it to connect with the air above the water. Then, it disappears beneath the surface again. The larva spends much of its time feeding on microorganisms and organic material suspended in the water. And as it feeds, its body grows. But growth creates a problem. The larva's outer skin cannot expand forever, so eventually it must shed its old outer layer. This process is called molting, and it will happen several times. With every molt, the larva becomes larger, stronger, and closer to its next transformation. But life in the water is dangerous. Predators may be waiting. Fish.
Aquatic insects, spiders near the water's edge.
Even other mosquito larvae may compete for limited resources. This process is called molting, and it will happen several times.
And taking advantage of the protection offered by its tiny aquatic world.
For several days, the transformation continues, until suddenly the larva enters its final stage. Now, the mosquito changes again. The larval body transforms into a pupa. At first glance, the pupa may appear inactive, but appearances can be deceiving. Inside this strange, comma-shaped body, a dramatic transformation is taking place. The mosquito is rebuilding itself, the aquatic larva is disappearing, and the adult mosquito is forming. Wings, legs, a new body structure, a completely different way of life. Unlike the larva, the pupa does not feed. Its energy is focused entirely on transformation. It moves through the water with sudden bursts, diving downward when disturbed, then returning toward the surface. But time is running out. The pupa is approaching the most dangerous moment of its entire development. The moment when it must leave the water. The moment when it becomes an adult. The outer skin begins to split. A tiny opening appears, and slowly, the adult mosquito begins to emerge. This is one of the most fragile moments in the mosquito's entire life. The newly emerged adult is soft. Its body is delicate. Its wings are not yet fully prepared for flight. It must remain on the surface of the water. Carefully, quietly, because one mistake could mean drowning.
The mosquito slowly pulls itself free. Its legs extend.
Its wings unfold, the body begins to harden, and then the transformation is complete. The mosquito is no longer an aquatic larva. It is now a flying insect. For the first time, it leaves the water and enters a completely new world. The air, the vegetation, the forest, the night. A tiny creature has completed one of nature's most remarkable transformations, but its greatest challenges are only beginning. The adult mosquito takes flight. But contrary to popular belief, not every mosquito immediately seeks blood. The first priority is survival, finding shelter, finding food, and finding a mate. Adult mosquitoes feed primarily on plant nectar and other sugary sources.
These provide the energy needed for flight. The mosquito moves through a world of flowers, leaves, grass, and humid vegetation.
But soon, another biological mission begins: the search for a mate. In some species, males form swarms. Females enter these swarms, and the two meet in midair. The mosquito's life now enters a new chapter: reproduction.
And this is where the behavior of the female becomes especially fascinating, because the female mosquito has a very different biological need.
She needs protein, and for many species, one of the richest sources is blood.
Night falls. The environment becomes quiet. But for the female mosquito, the world is filled with signals. Carbon dioxide, body heat, odors, moisture, and movement. Together, these signals help guide her toward a potential host.
A human, a bird, a mammal, or another animal.
The mosquito approaches. Its body is incredibly small, its flight almost silent. Then, it lands.
The mosquito uses specialized mouthparts to pierce the skin. The process is far more complex than simply biting.
The mouthparts work as a highly specialized feeding system. Saliva enters the skin, and blood begins to flow. The mosquito takes its meal. But the real purpose is not hunger. It is reproduction. The proteins obtained from the blood meal help the female produce eggs. Once the meal is complete, she flies away. The mosquito's mission has changed. Now, she must find water. Again. After feeding, the female mosquito begins the next stage of her reproductive cycle. Inside her body, the blood meal is being processed. Nutrients are redirected. Eggs begin to develop. And the search begins again. Water, the same element that started the mosquito's life, will now begin the next generation.
The female searches for a suitable breeding site. She may travel across surprising distances,
following environmental signals invisible to us. Finally, she finds the perfect location: a small pool of water. Protected, quiet, suitable. She begins to lay her eggs. One, then another, and another. A new generation is created. The adult mosquito has completed its biological mission.
But the cycle does not end here, because beneath the surface, tiny eggs are already beginning to develop. And soon, the water will come alive again.
Egg, larva, pupa, adult. 4 stages, 1 extraordinary transformation. The entire life cycle can happen surprisingly quickly when environmental conditions are favorable.
But the mosquito's life is not guaranteed. At every stage, there are threats.
Eggs can dry out. Larvae can be eaten. Pupa can become prey. Adults can be captured or simply fail to reproduce.
Yet mosquitoes have survived for millions of years. They have adapted to countless environments.
From tropical forests to wetlands to cities, they have learned to exploit one of the most abundant resources on Earth: water.
And because of this, they have become one of the most successful groups of insects on the planet.
The next time you see a mosquito, remember that the creature flying through the air is only one chapter of its story. Before it had wings, it lived underwater. Before it could fly, it was a tiny larva. Before that, it was hidden inside an egg. and before the egg was laid, a female mosquito searched for the perfect place to begin.
A place so small that we might never notice it. Yet inside that tiny world, an entire life cycle unfolds.
Egg, larva, pupa, adult. A continuous cycle of transformation, repeating again and again. The mosquito may be one of the smallest creatures we encounter, but its story reveals something much bigger. That even in the smallest drop of water, there can be an entire universe of life. This is Bioverse, where every creature has a story, and every life is part of something much greater. Until next time, look closer, because the hidden world of life is everywhere. The cycle of life is truly an endless and beautiful mystery. Every tiny wing beat is a masterpiece of evolution and nature. Water provides the canvas upon which this story is written. The mist of dawn hides the many beginnings of life. Patiently waiting for the next opportunity to continue the legacy. Through its multifaceted eyes, it sees a world we cannot. A small journey leading to a much larger destination today. Bioverse, where nature remains the most fascinating story told.